In our previous lesson, we talked about how great PMs have a number of distinct traits that distinguish them from good PMs, and we discussed how great PMs achieve these different traits by learning how to effectively create leverage. We then talked about the 5 distinct sources of leverage: needle-moving work, team empowerment, leadership buy-in, product intuition, and focused effort. But how do great PMs create these sources of leverage? They do this by executing on each of their major deliverables in a systematic way, with highly rigorous thought. This idea of PM deliverables comes from Sachin Reiki's view that since the PM role is so nebulous, it's helpful to define it as delivering on 8 distinct deliverables. These 8 deliverables are product strategy, vision narrative, customer insights, metrics dashboards, product roadmaps, product specs, team OKRs, and decision alignment. Each module of this program will cover one of these major deliverables in depth. For each deliverable, we've distilled the key elements of the rigorous approach that great PMs take down into an actionable set of step-by-step processes and mental frameworks, or, to put it more simply, a set of PM tools. Let's walk through each deliverable and preview the tool you'll learn. The first deliverable we'll walk through is product strategy, which is your company's plan for how your product will win the market it plays in. While a PM generally isn't responsible for creating the overall product strategy, they are responsible for helping to refine it. However, the problem is that most PMs understand their product strategy only at a surface level. Similar to an iceberg, they see the surface and view it as a complete picture. This causes them to inadvertently invest in initiatives that aren't fully aligned with, or even go against, some elements of product strategy. As a result, their initiatives end up creating minor or insufficient impact on the product. Great PMs are able to understand their product strategy at a deeper level. They understand the specific nuances in their product strategy, which enables them to better identify and brainstorm needle-moving work. We've codified their process for going from surface to depth in the Reforge Product Strategy Map, which we'll cover in the first module of our program. The second deliverable PMs have is product vision for their scope. Just as companies have company-level visions for what they want to achieve, PMs need to have a scope vision for what they want to achieve. Scope vision is highly similar to a company vision. It simply shifts the focus to what the PM's scope of work can accomplish, rather than what the company's work can accomplish. But most PMs miss out on the opportunity to create leverage from their scope vision. There are 3 common reasons why. The first is that their scope vision doesn't tackle an aspirational enough problem to create needle-moving results when they succeed. The second is that they don't include adequate detail in their vision, leaving it too high level for it to empower their team to make decisions. And finally, they aren't able to effectively get leadership buy-in on their scope vision. Great PMs solve these problems by writing vision narratives for their scope. A vision narrative explains their vision in a 1 or 2 page narrative format. In Module 2, we'll give you a step-by-step process on how to write a great vision narrative for your scope, and then share a framework to effectively gain leadership buy-in on it. The third deliverable is customer insights. PMs need to constantly gather and discover unique customer insights in order to build game-changing products. But in practice, there are often so many different feedback sources and channels that it's overwhelming to try to process them all without spending all your time pulling data and formatting analyses. So how do great PMs solve this challenge? The answer is that they set up feedback management systems. Feedback management systems are tools that automate the collection and processing of feedback from multiple sources. They make it much easier for PMs to parse this constant stream of exposure to the user in order to be able to better leverage it in developing their product intuition. In Module 3, we'll cover exactly what feedback management systems are, as well as how to set up yours to own your ability to deliver on a constant stream of valuable insights. The fourth deliverable is metrics dashboards. PMs are responsible for continually assessing, reporting on, and deriving insights from the health of their product, and they generally do so via metrics dashboards. However, most PMs have dashboards with far too many metrics, and as a result, they lose sight of the most important trends and insights. Case in point, we've heard of companies that tracked over 50 metrics in each of their metrics review meetings. When asked how they decided which metrics were most important to focus on or why specific metrics were moving up or down, they had no idea. To remedy this problem, great PMs simplify their dashboards into lever dashboards. In contrast to standard metrics dashboards, lever dashboards are highly focused, tracking only your most important metrics. This would include your outcome metrics, which are the ultimate metrics measuring business or user value, as well as their KPIs, or the key input metrics that influence them. By setting their dashboards to focus on just the most important outcome metrics and KPIs, PMs can better focus their team's energy on improving just the most needle-moving metrics. Additionally, by constantly looking at these dashboards and investigating why key metrics change, PMs develop their product intuition for what actions they can take to most influence product outcomes. In Module 4, we'll cover how to set up lever dashboards for your scope. We'll also explain how to determine what outcome metrics matter the most for your business. And then we'll show you a process to find the critical few KPIs that most influence those output metrics. The fifth deliverable that we'll cover are product roadmaps. The product roadmap dictates what gets built in the product, as well as when. Most PMs use a simple score-based road mapping approach, such as RICE or feature voting, to prioritize initiatives for their roadmap. However, these approaches have biases and often produce roadmaps devoid of strategy. This frequently results in roadmaps being less needle-moving or less focused than they could be. Additionally, leadership may often feel like such roadmaps lack a unifying connection to strategy, creating challenges getting their buy-in. Great PMs instead use a process called 4D road mapping. 4D road mapping is a road mapping process in which you brainstorm and prioritize initiatives in a more strategic, focused way. This results in you identifying more needle-moving work, creating more focus in your execution, and being able to better sell your roadmap to leadership. In Module 5, we'll take you through how to run an effective 4D road mapping process and how to use it to generate buy-in. The sixth deliverable is Team OKRs. Objectives and Key Results, or OKRs, are a common goal-setting and review process which you're more than likely already familiar with. When they're done well, OKRs help PMs focus their efforts, empower their team, get leadership buy-in, and build their product intuition on what works. However, there are a couple of common patterns that cause OKRs to be less effective. First, teams may measure outputs or actions, such as launch 15 blog posts, instead of outcomes, such as gain 1,000 new subscribers. The problem with this is that while it helps them measure launch success, it doesn't help them measure business impact creation. The second common issue is that teams tend to approach OKRs as purely an execution tool for achieving specific goals, missing the opportunity to also reflect and learn from their successes and failures related to OKRs. And finally, the intense focusing power of OKRs can inadvertently push teams toward a highly localized focus. In contrast, great PMs approach OKRs as a loop, taking an iterative approach to setting, socializing, and refining their goals. More specifically, this means setting outcome-oriented OKRs at the start to focus their effort, socializing them to effectively get leadership buy-in and empower their team, and then conducting rigorous OKR postmortems to refine their product intuition. In Module 6, you'll learn how to execute on your own OKR loop. The seventh deliverable that we'll look at are product specs. When it comes to creating product specs, most PMs tend to land on one end or the other of a spectrum. Either they write ultra-lightweight product specs with extremely high-level guidance, or they write highly prescriptive product specs that detail every edge case. However, both of these extremes cause you to lose leverage. In the ultra-lightweight case, you might be constantly pulled into ad hoc discussions to clarify product direction. While in the highly prescriptive case, you're also probably still getting pulled into ad hoc discussions because you've set yourself up as the decision maker for all product decisions. Instead, great PMs write their product specs in a way that isn't ultra lightweight or heavily prescriptive. Instead, they write empowering product specs. They provide the context on what they're trying to accomplish, and they explain the key principles to adhere to during implementation. In doing so, they effectively empower their team, providing just the right amount of guidance without micromanaging each decision. In Module 7, we'll cover how to effectively write these empowering product specs. This brings us to the eighth and final PM deliverable that we'll consider, which is decision alignment. PMs are constantly under pressure to make or facilitate decisions involving multiple stakeholders. As a result, they often struggle to determine how much to invest in different kinds of decisions, as well as how to involve the right stakeholders in the decision process. This causes PMs to often resort to either making slow, consensus-based decisions with maximum stakeholder input or making fast decisions with limited input. Both of these approaches are suboptimal. Instead, the best PMs conceive of their role as being a decision architect for their organization, enabling them to make more efficient and effective decisions. We'll look in more depth at the components of decision architecture in Module 8. Over the course of the program, you'll see that these deliverables are all closely interconnected. Your product strategy is your starting point, shaping what's realistic for your vision. Your product strategy also helps you prioritize customer feedback from your different customer segments and determine what metrics your levered dashboards need to track. This relationship isn't one way though. What you learn through feedback and metric performance should ultimately be incorporated in updating product strategy. Together, these four deliverables then serve as different starting points for brainstorming and prioritizing different roadmap ideas. Based on your final roadmap priorities, you'll know what OKRs you want to track for improvement, as well as what product specs you need to write. And throughout all of this, you'll need to regularly be getting decision alignment on all of the micro and macro decisions along the way. Let's dive in.